is Scotland, The Drive, with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
Welcome to episode 6 of Scotland, The Drive, and I'm very pleased to say that Ali's here.
I'm here. Yeah.
With a new knee.
With a new knee.
And a new T-shirt.
I know. I don't know if I can stand, but I've been told to stand to show the T-shirt.
Let's see the T-shirt.
Difficult.
Can you manage this?
There, we're there now.
No.
No? Is the answer no? That's not the competition question because we know the answer's no. But yes, I've got the new knee in. So this is difficult to sit down, but there we go.
Right, you've got the knee and you've got the T-shirt.
Let's get on with the programme.
Yeah, okay, right. Anyway, good to see you here.
Thank you.
I'm glad you made it through. So I was going to say what we've been driving, but you obviously haven't been driving very much.
It's kind of been difficult, you know. It's even just getting in the car as a passenger when I was coming out of the hospital thinking, am I going to get in the car? Well, I ran along the back seat. But no, managed it okay.
So you've been passengering?
Passengering, being chauffeured by Lorraine.
Well, that's good. I haven't been driving very much either because I've been on holiday. I've been
a lovely time.
Well, thank you.
That's okay.
I went off to try and find some sun. Didn't quite find it. I found a wee bit of sun. But actually, I spent most of my time in Spanish taxis, which are mostly Toyota Corolla estates.
Right.
And pretty battered. I mean, I got in one and the seat was all stuck together with tape. The back seat. It was a supposedly leather seat, but it was all stuck together with tape. But they're very good, the taxis. We were in Fuerteventura in the Canaries, and the taxis are great.
They get you there. They get
€5 or €6 for a trip down the road. So that was great. So I haven't been driving very much. We've had a few comparisons with Waldorf and Statler.
Yeah,
Waldorf and Statler.
I know, you had to enlighten me on that.
Yeah, the Muppet Show. They were the two grumpy old men.
I remember it now. Yeah.
Known for their overly negative opinions. I don't know why I think there's any comparison.
That was Scott Reed, by the way, who said that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, he said that. So
thank you, Scott.
Yeah, but we would like to be occasionally throw something in controversial, which we know we do.
I've also seen us referred to as the Scottish Hammond and May. Well, at least we're not the Clarkson, so that's
all right. That's all right.
So what have we got coming up? We've got interview with Nick Nairn talking about cars.
He's good.
The chef Nick Nairn, he likes his food, but he also likes his cars. So he talks at some length about the cars he's had and some interesting stories. He's had quite a few adventures.
Indeed. And a car that the three of us, Lorraine included, has been driving has been the e-Vitara from Suzuki. So Lorraine's out on the road with that, giving us her report, and we'll give you our thoughts on that one as well.
Alan Douglas and Ali Bally. This is Scotland The Drive.
Now then, did you see this about the speeding convictions being cancelled in England?
Yeah, this first raised its head probably about 2 to 3 weeks ago down in England. I apologise about the throat, the voice is disappearing. But anyway, it raised itself a couple of weeks ago when I first read it. And I thought, it was England only. And then they've been looking at it again within the last week. It's hit the headlines again, and you quite rightly said motorists heading down south from Scotland or heading the other way could have easily been caught into this.
Yeah, there's very few roads that are affected by this. Basically, what the problem was that they found that the cameras were faulty. They were recording the wrong speed. So if you were in a 50 mile an hour limit and you went into a 40, the camera, once you were in the 40, it thought you were still in the 50. No, other way around. When you were in the 50, it thought you were in the 40.
Right.
So you were being penalised for doing 50 and a 40, when in fact you were driving quite legitimately. So the camera there was a delay. So they've accepted that there was a fault with it. It was a BBC investigation, and it was a delay between variable speed limit signs and enforcement cameras, which meant that a lot of people were done wrongly. And they were fined, penalty points, and speed awareness courses that they had to go on. So now there's been a pull back on that. They've accepted that there were 2,650 wrongful speed camera activations since 2021, and the roads affected include 10% of England's motorway network. They're mainly smart motorways, The smart way to motorways and some specific A road sections, the A14 between Huntingdon and Cambridge, the A1 approach to the A14. Now, the A1 approach to the A14, there might be people from Scotland on that, and parts of the M25 near Cobham services. So, yeah, I was thinking, well, this doesn't apply to us because it's England. But then, of course, as you said, Scots drivers going down there and driving on these roads could have been done. So, what do you do about it? Well, apparently, if you were wrongly convicted, you will be contacted. The police will contact you directly. Any fines paid will be fully refunded, penalty points will be removed, and speed awareness course fees will be reimbursed. What it doesn't take account of course, if you've declared it and your insurance has gone up, so you've had to pay a higher insurance premium.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's worth looking at. So if you have been driving on some of these roads in England, then it's worth chasing up.
I think it's something that we may look at, and occasionally you say, it's not worth getting involved in that, it's England. But I would, through a personal experience that happened to me a few years ago, I would thoroughly recommend you challenge anybody, anywhere, on any motoring offence that you feel strongly about. I felt strongly about being fined once for speeding, and it was a flat fee that I should have been fined, £54 or whatever it was.
54?
Something like that.
Must have been a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That wasn't 55. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
3 penalty points anyway. And the first I knew about it was when I was doing a radio show, and the guy from the newsroom comes wandering into me at tea time. He said, "Have you seen the evening newspaper?" I said, "No." He says, "Why?" He says, "Your front page." And there I was, DJ fined for speeding.
A common criminal.
Common criminal. Then it got even worse, because when I left the studios and went down the street, outside every billboard on the newsagents, the newspaper had decided to splash me everywhere. Now, my wife had been on the phone to the Procurator Fiscal's office to say that my license was with the DVLA, so I couldn't send it to them. And they said, "That's okay, let us know when you get your license back." But they went ahead and took me to court anyway, unknown to me. I knew nothing about it. And I was to the Justice of the Peace. Obviously, as someone said to me, "Did you not play his request one day?" He landed me with a very large fine and 6 penalty points for not producing my license. Well, I couldn't produce it because... So I then phoned the Procurator Fiscal's department and I said, "I want to appeal this." And they went, "You can't appeal it. Nobody appeals a speeding offence for the Justice of the Peace." I said, "There isn't a..." I said, "There must be." So I dug my heels in, finish the story quickly. I ended up in the Supreme Court in Edinburgh in front of 3 judges pleading my case. I did 2 days before take a little bit of a shock to myself and went in to see my solicitor. I said, "Just in case I don't come out tomorrow, I thought I'd better tell you what happened here." So I told him the story, and he says, "You are kidding." He says, "That's big time." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I'm there in a couple of days' time." So I had gone from his office and he phoned me and he said, the solicitor said, "I've cleared my diary, I'm coming with you." I says, "Oh, it'll be great to know you're there." He says, "No, I'm going to sit in the benches just to watch this." He says, "This will be a laugh." I said, "Very good." So I went, and there were very serious cases before me, very serious cases after me. Then they called me. And the judge said to me, "Before you say anything, we've looked at this case. If I said to you, you probably think you've been mistreated, would you agree?" I said, "Absolutely." He says, "And if I said that we think you should be fined £50 and 3 penalty points, would you agree?" I said, "Absolutely." And that was it. I was out of there very quickly. But it went the whole way. So you should push it, despite how many people in the legal profession say, "You can't do that." Of course you can.
Well, I have been caught speeding in the past, and the worst one I had was on the M6. This is years ago when I was young and foolish. Well, I was foolish. Wasn't quite so young, but and I was doing a fair old speed, which I shouldn't have been doing, but it was in a very good car. The road was clear. It was in the evening, and the road was quiet. Anyway, I got the thing through, and it said, you being done for this, and I pleaded guilty by letter. The next thing I got was a letter saying you've got to appear because the magistrates are going to disqualify you. What? So I had to get the train down to Wigan Magistrates Court, and I walked into the court, and there's all these people in suits, and you expected to see, common criminals, but there were all these people in suits. And I said to the guy, surprised there were all these people in suits. He said, yeah, this is Speeder's Day. It's Speeder's Day at Wigan Magistrates Court. And I said, so you were done for Speedy? He said, yeah. He said, I think I'm going to jail. I said, what? You're going to jail? He said, yeah, well, I was disqualified at the time. So anyway, I got £100 fine and 3 points.
And you got out of there very quickly.
And I got out of there and got back on the train, back up the road. But yeah, it was that was Speeder's Day at Wigan Magistrates.
Wigan. If you've just joined us, this is Scotland the Drive. Thank you very much indeed for being with us again. You can email scotlanddedrive@gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and please subscribe. It's free. Plus, we've got the competition still ongoing on Facebook. If you fancy winning one of our mugs, all you got to do is get in there and press the button. Listen, share, follow.
Follow, yeah.
That's it.
Thing. Right.
If you think we're trying to get more people there, you're absolutely right. We want to see the numbers growing.
And there's
so please help us. It's a mug at stake.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention was the EVs. Now, we've had a good go about EVs, but there's research that shows that electric vehicles and hybrids can be significantly more hazardous to pedestrians than traditional internal combustion engines because of their low noise or no noise at all and increased weight. So in other words, they're pretty silent and they're heavier, so that if they hit a pedestrians are 3 times more likely to be hit by an electric hybrid vehicle than a conventional one. It's kind of almost stating the obvious, but it is, it's a less than positive fact about EVs. They are clean, supposedly. They are efficient, supposedly. They've got great power. You can really, it's a nice drive. You don't have the lag as it changes gear. So they are nice to drive, but they are a potential danger to pedestrians. But I should say, that pedestrians shouldn't be on the road. I mean, I once in an argument with somebody saying, oh yeah, cars are dangerous because they hit pedestrians. And I said, well, pedestrians
get off the road.
Shouldn't be on the road, or if they are on the road, they should be looking what they're doing. It's 50. If you're knocked down by a car, you can hear the complaints coming in already. If you're knocked down by a car, you're probably 50% to blame. Well, if you weren't there, you wouldn't be knocked down. If you weren't in the road, you wouldn't be knocked down.
Okay, I'll give you
No,
that.
okay.
But we do have, particularly in certain cities, I won't mention what I'm thinking of, but certain cities have real problems with jaywalkers. They come and just walk straight off the pavement, onto the road, don't care.
Well, people are walking along looking at their phones. And
that's another one.
It used to be, in the old days, they had Walkmans. Remember the Walkmans? They'd be plugged into Walkmans, and they weren't listening to what was going on around about. Now they're looking at their phones, or they've got their phones to the ears, and they're not watching what they're doing. So anyway, I think the lesson is, if you're driving an EV, you've got to be particularly careful about pedestrians. And if you're a pedestrian, you've got to be particularly careful to watch out for
EVs.
The quiet EVs.
Yeah. Talking of EVs, shall we put her on the road?
Yeah.
Okay, Lorraine's been driving.
Scotland the Drive. Lorraine's Lane.
Suzuki has for many years now produced some excellent cars that sell well all around the world. And whilst I confess not to loving them all, the Swift and the Vitara in particular have always been favourites. But whilst most manufacturers have been dabbling in EV technology for a long time now, our friends at Suzuki have held back until now. Now, that could be because they don't want to waste time, money and effort experimenting with cars that were not really fit for purpose or even what the customer wanted. Or were they cleverly playing the waiting game until the time was right in a world where EVs now play a huge part in the industry and eventually popular enough for them to dip their toes in the water? Well, all three of us have now driven the e-Vitara. That's Suzuki's first ever electric car, all electric car in the UK. So how did it fare? Well, we'll hear from Ali and Alan a wee bit later on, but for now, here's my tuppence worth. This is a joint venture with Toyota, so all good there. The exterior is pretty much similar to its rivals as an electric SUV, but it's at the larger end of small SUVs, so really quite spacious and roomier than most. It's quite a handsome vehicle as well, in a kind of rugged way. It's got chunky visuals, making it even more attractive. On the inside, there's ample room, front, back, headroom, and plenty of space for storage as well. And there's a wide range of driver's seat and steering wheel adjustments to get yourself into that perfect position. The dashboard can look quite busy if you choose the multicoloured version that I liked. However, there is an option of a sleek plain black for those with a more conservative persuasion. The tech is as you would expect. There's a 10.1-inch central touchscreen and a 10.25-inch digital driver's display, but it does come with physical buttons as well that makes climate control and the radio all easy to use. As standard, you get front and back parking sensors and a rear view camera, which come as options on other rivals. So plus a load of other safety features makes it very attractive too. The range will depend on which battery size you choose and whether or not you opt for the 2 or the 4-wheel drive. But you should allegedly get from between 214 and 267 miles, albeit dependent on varying elements like weather conditions, use of the radio, the aircon, and my heavy right foot before Ali says it. On this occasion, it was quite a bit less, but it is winter and it is Scotland. I really enjoyed the drive, even if it did feel a wee bit older-fashioned, but for me that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a tough sector, however. It's got several great cars already leading the way. However, I do suspect the Vitara may very well be a dark horse that will take the loyal Suzuki buyers by surprise, and not just Vitara owners either. The pricing is also quite competitive, along with a reputation for exceptional after-sales service. I was pleased to have the chance to review Suzuki's first entry into electrification, and I look forward to the next 3 EVs that are planned between now and 2030. Prices start from around £28,000, rising up to round about £38,000 for the top of the range.
This is Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
So thanks, Lorraine. And we've been driving the e-Vitara as well. So you're getting you've had Lorraine's views there. What was your thoughts then?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I like Suzuki's. Suzuki's are nice cars, you know, right up from the Swift up to the Vitara. The Swift is a cracking little compact city car, effectively. It's a really nice car to drive. The Vitara is good. I've always liked the Vitara. I think the e-Vitara is much better designed inside. It looks better. It looks much more modern. The EV element, I think, you know, they maybe need to do a bit of work on the range. I was disappointed with the range. I can't remember what it was, but it's like all these things. As soon as you start switching stuff on, the range drops. So I think you'd be lucky to get up to 200 maybe.
I think it was slightly more.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think if you're in the rain and you switch on the wipers
and the radio and everything.
I think it drops down a bit. But no, I liked it. I did have a problem with it. Did you?
Yeah.
I went to charge it, and it just wouldn't charge. I mean, it's simple as that. I plugged it in, did all the things I should have done. I put my card in. It took the payment, or it said it was taking the payment, and then just said vehicle says no charge, not charging, or vehicle says it doesn't want to charge, something like that. So I was a bit confused. So you had the...
So what did he do? Ask him what he does. Yeah, it won't charge. So what does Alan do?
So I handed it to Ali. Well, I was going on holiday, so I just handed it to Ali.
So it appeared at my door.
It won't charge. So can you sort it out? So you sorted it out.
Yeah, I first of all, I couldn't get it to charge either. And there was obviously something we weren't doing. But again, I was very impressed with how Suzuki handled it. They basically were ready to come and take the car away from me, bring another one in, because there was obviously something not right. But I offered to take it to local Suzuki dealer, West End and Broughty Ferry, and they had a look at it within not even 60 seconds. They knew what it was. It was someone who'd had it from the press before us, had been playing about with the app, and the app had told the engine not to charge beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
So once that was shown, we thought that was it. So we shall keep our fingers crossed and wait and see if we hear any more.
I had that problem with another EV I had sometime in the past, and I'd left it for an hour charging, came back, and it was only charged up to 40%. And I discovered that a previous journalist had programmed it because he was charging from his own charging point and he was paying for it. He programmed it to not go above 40%.
Yeah.
So the car did what it was told. So if you do have a problem like that, the secret is to look at settings, just check that it's not been pre-programmed to stop at a certain level. But yeah, but I like the car, and as I say, Suzuki's are nice cars. And actually, interestingly enough, you could say, well, you got special treatment because you're a motoring journalist, so they had to sort it out. But actually, Suzuki rate way highly on customer service. I think if they're not the top, they're certainly in the top 5.
And the retention as well of people staying with Suzuki is very, very high. And that's the reason it is very high, is because they put it down to the service. And I don't think maybe I did get any special bit of treatment, but it started with Suzuki right at the top. Get in touch with the dealer saying, we'll bring another car to you and take that one away right away. It was easier for me to take the car down, and it was fixed within very quickly. So well done to Suzuki, and I'm with you. I thoroughly enjoyed driving the car.
Right, we're going to look at some issues. Now, you mentioned the last time the Queensferry crossing. Why was it not signposted? And you've been on the case.
I've been successful. So let's start off. Mike Anderson. Mike, thank you very much indeed for getting in touch. And I'm just going to say thanks to everybody who's emailed us with support for the podcast, or indeed just saying hi. Thank you. Most appreciated that you're getting in touch, because it's nice to know that we're just not sitting here talking to ourselves. So anyway, Mike had got in touch with us, scotlanddrive.gmail@gmail.com. And he was going on about, he said, when you go to any main trunk road, coming from Glasgow to Edinburgh, or coming from Fife to Edinburgh, why is the Queensferry crossing not signposted? Now, I know you were saying last week that it's actually up on the bridge. The name is there. That's fine, but Mike wasn't talking about that. He's talking about when you're heading down the road and it says Forth Road Bridge, 10 miles, and it doesn't say anything on the Queensferry crossing. Okay. So why is the Queensferry crossing not mentioned anywhere? So I asked Transport Scotland, the government, and this is the answer. Thanks to Ryan and the press officer getting back. And he says this question was actually raised in Parliament last year, and it's ultimately down to a change in policy. Okay, these days signage is provided on the Scottish Trunk Road network to towns and cities. And as the Queensferry crossing is not in itself a destination, there are no current plans to provide signage.
But the Forth Bridge isn't a destination, and it's signposted.
When the Forth Road Bridge was constructed, it was considered to be a destination, and as such appeared on the tourist route signs, the road signs. And that's why it still appears on Trunk Road and local road signage now. And Ryan says, hope that helps. Thanks, Ryan. Does it help? I know what I'm going to say, and I'm sure you'll be the same. It's a case of we haven't got the money to put the signs up.
Yeah. It sounds a bit of a cop-out. But then, I don't know. I mean, well, you and I know where the Queensferry crossing is, but for visitors, for tourists, maybe, well, I think you gave an example of golfers.
Golfers had gone to St Andrews.
They were going to St Andrews, and they were told to head for the Queensferry crossing, and where is it?
Yeah.
because there's no sign
They
to
could
it.
see it, but how did
Yeah,
they get to
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So that's the reason. It's not going to happen anytime soon. The Scottish Government are forever telling us they've no money. It'll be somebody else's fault, no doubt. But we're not going to get these Queensferry crossing signs up. I think we should be proud of it. That's my view. It's something, if you cross that bridge, a danger, and we talked about this last week, I think, about foreign drivers. And you just need to go across the bridge, as I do quite often on a Saturday and Sunday, and you'll see foreign drivers doing 10, 15 miles an hour with their video cameras panning the bridge and slowing all the traffic down, and a danger to everything.
And over to the rail bridge as well.
They go over and then they come back again, and you can't overtake them. So it is a destination. People want to look at it, so to say it's not a destination, I think is, as Alan says, it's a cop-out.
Yeah,
We should be proud of it.
a sign's not going to stop them driving at 10 miles an hour and
No, it's just
panning
kind of
around
a
with
bugbear.
the
It's just a
camera.
bugbear of mine.
Right,
Just a bugbear. Yeah.
All right. What else is happening? Oh, the Perthshire Classic Tour. Now, I spotted this. This looks quite good. Again, I've got to think about classic cars. I like classic cars, and I'm involved in the Monty. Actually, before I talk about the Perthshire Classic Tour, the Monty, and last time I was talking about the Japanese crew
Yes.
who are coming to do the Monty Classic, a historic rally down to Monte Carlo. Starting in John O'Groats, go down to Monte Carlo. And these two guys from Japan were coming over with their Datsun
Bluebird.
Datsun Bluebird, yes, I had a mental block there. The Datsun Bluebird, which had been in the family for years. Bad news. The Datsun Bluebird is still on a ship somewhere mid-ocean. So the guys are here, or they were coming here, but the car wasn't. So they've had to abandon that. They've managed to borrow a car, would you believe, somewhere, and they're joining it, the rally in France. So they're going to do the drive from France down to Monte Carlo, or from Reims, which is kind of northern France, down to Monte Carlo. So they're doing that. So all's well that ends well, to a certain extent. But they're great guys. They did it a couple of years ago, 2012, I think it was, and they drove back to Japan. Took them 6 months, but they did it. Anyway, they're not going to be doing it this time, at least not from Scotland. But the Perthshire Classic Tour, what I was going to talk about in the first place, it's season of car tours begins, and in Perthshire it's celebrated with the spectacular Perth Glencoe Lochaw Run, organised by the Rotary Club of Perth. An amazing sight with up to 100 beautiful, well-loved and classic and prestige cars driving through Highland Perthshire towns, villages and countryside. It's an aid of charity supporting Prostate Scotland, and also Race Against Dementia, which is focused on research to find a cure faster. So lots of things. You can see the detail at Perth, www.perthrotary.co.uk. It will be in April, starting from McDermott Park in Perth and finishing at the Crieff Hydro Hotel. So if you're interested in classic cars, that's one for the diary.
It's always a good one. I've attended that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, on motorsport, did you see Sandy Mitchell, the young guy from Forfar?
That's it, yeah.
Who has been competing in the, what do you call it? The Daytona 24 Hours. It's literally a 24-hour race.
4 hours, yeah.
He finished 6th in his class, and the car finished 27th overall. But in the 24 hours, they covered 662 laps, 43 laps behind the overall winner. I don't understand quite how these things work, but there were 4 of them in the team. I mean, he didn't do all the driving, not for 24 hours, but for 24 hours and 4 of them in the team in a very nice, what was it? It was a Lamborghini Huracan. Very nice car. So anyway, he's doing very well. 25-year-old from Forfar. So it's good to see a young man,
indeed, coming up through the ranks,
Scotsman, doing all the right things in motorsport. Right. Okay. So our first car. We got hold of I don't know if he likes being called celebrity chef, but he's a well-known chef, Nick Nairn. So I knew he had an interest in cars, but boy, does he talk about cars.
Wow.
So we sat him down and asked him about cars.
This is Scotland, The Drive, my first car.
Nick Nairn, you obviously are an expert on food, but you're quite fond of your cars as well, aren't you?
I am a bit of a petrol head, it has to be said. But in my, kind of retirement-ish years, I've kind of downsized from the sort of two-seater sports cars, which I can get into, but not out of, which is quite embarrassing. When you arrive somewhere and you're kind of hanging off the door as you're trying to get out of a 911. So, my love of cars started very young. First car I had was a minivan, and when I was 13. So we live, I'm still here at Lake Menteith, on the family farm. And my brother and I used to rally this minivan round. We built a wee sort of rally course. And so I started driving when I was 13. By the time I was 14, I could do a handbrake turn and a J turn. And I just could not wait to pass my driving test. It was just so I passed my driving test I was 17 in January. Passed my driving test in May. I bought my first car, which was from the auction, the car auction at Kinross, which was a favourite place of myself and my brother. We used to go and buy scrappers, basically. So I bought a Fiat 500, and back in the day, Fiat 500 had a hand throttle, and it had a sunroof. So I was able to set the throttle, climb out onto the roof, and drive it with my feet. To the absolute horror of my mother, who saw us coming down the drive. My brother and I both sitting on the roof, driving this thing with my feet. So that car got me to college. So I joined the Merchant Navy as a navigating officer, and I spent a year at sea and then I had a year at college in Glasgow. And we lived up at the top of Hill Street, and my Fiat 500 couldn't make it to the top of Hill Street with anybody other than myself in it. So if I was giving the guys, my colleagues, a lift home, they had to get out. And actually, on one occasion, they actually had to push it up the last bit of Hill Street. So that went to the Great Scrapyard of the Sky. It just actually, I think I actually left it in Glasgow, just by the side of the road.
Just left it.
Yeah, it's probably still there.
Possibly. Well, at college once, my friends discovered they could lift it, and they put it between two concrete bollards one day, and I couldn't get out. It was just jammed in. So then my second car was a 1275 GT, which was an Austin 1100 with a 1275 engine in it. And it was a truly dreadful car. It had hydroelastic suspension. Do you remember hydroelastic suspension?
Yeah.
It was a great sort of BMC invention, which didn't work. So the thing had a ride that was like being in a swimming pool. It was absolutely dreadful. It's quite fast. All right. I'll phone right later.
That's his
My
kid.
wife's away just to get our daughter, Kara's last wife. She's been away for a year in Australia. She's just come back this afternoon. Anyway, so 1275 GT, which, and the exhaust fell off it. So back in the day, you used to did all the work on your car yourself. So things like exhaust bandages, I never see an exhaust bandage now, but I went through them because you couldn't afford to buy a new exhaust. Anyway, I came back from my second trip to sea, and my brother had bought an MG Midget, which I coveted, and eventually I managed to persuade him to sell it to me. And that was a great car. I had that for about 3 years, and it broke down very regularly. And was completely bodged because all the bits, to repair it came from the scrappies. So second-hand drum brakes, and so the lining had worn out. So I went to the Scrappies, and I got some new drum brakes for it, but they didn't fit perfectly. So I took the linings off. This is a true story. I took the linings off of the ones I got from the Scrappy, and I super glued them onto the actual drum brake for the car, and it kind of worked for a while. And then the car broke down in Glasgow, and I phoned my brother and said, "You'd come and pick me up and tow me back." So he was towing me, and he was having a bit of a laugh. He was driving too fast, and so I was having to brake to slow him down because he was trying to get me to go off the road. And then eventually, the heat of the continued braking parted the super glue from the calipers. I've never told anybody this story before. And so I had no brakes, and my brother was driving like a lunatic and no means of contacting him. So we were coming just outside of Strathblane, coming down those dreadful curves. And my brother braked to go into a corner. I had no brakes, so I overtook him, still attached by a tow rope. So, of course, the tow rope cut in, and he went off the road one side. I went off the road on the other side. Luckily, walked away from it, absolutely intact. So that
presumably, your car career is a bit more relaxed now. You drive a Porsche now, do you?
No, I had 5 911s in a row for a while, and I'm a major fan of the 911. I think it's a brilliant car. I track them as well as driving them on the road. But I say I damaged my back. I've got 2 vertebrae that don't talk to one another. And just they're too low getting in and out of. I can get in it, but I can't get back out again. So nowadays, so I had a dalliance with Volvo. So I'm a creature of habit, right? So when I find a car I really like, I kind of stick with it. So I had a Volvo XC90. I had about 4 of those. A diesel one and a petrol hybrid one, which was actually very rapid. And then after that, I decided I should go back to a saloon car. So I had an Audi A6 Avant, which was actually a very, very good car, but just a little bit boring. And now I have a Land Rover Defender, which I really like. I think it's a great car. It's the commercial one, so it's a 2-seater. Well, it's got a 3rd seat in the middle. Sorry, I've got a whining dog because you can hear people outside. Blue, go and lie down. Good boy.
Does the dog like the Defender?
He loves it. I mean, I have a massive big dog bed in the back of it, and no, he really likes it. And the dog was bought for shooting in mind, as well as the Defender. The dog, unfortunately, has not been trained, which you may hear him barking. So I can't take him shooting because he's just a lunatic and he runs about and upsets everybody. But yeah, he loves it, and our kids are all grown up and doing their own things. So it's just me and the wife, and 2-seater is perfect.
Am I not right in thinking you had a dalliance with an Aston Martin at one point?
I did, yes. So I got the very first V8 Vantage in Scotland, and I was really, really looking forward to a beautiful looking car, but just not a brilliant driver after a 911. And I just never really got on with it. And then the paint fell off, it just came off the bottom of the doors. And I took it back to Aston Martin in Edinburgh and said, well, this car's only 6 months old, it needs a respray. And they went, oh, Mr. Nairn, that's just the way you drive, sir. Those wee country roads. Oh, no, it's not. I've stayed, out there for most of my life. This has never happened before. So eventually they agreed to it, and they resprayed it, and I gave it back to them. It never, it broke down twice. And it's got this thing called limp mode, where it can drive about 10 miles an hour. and you look at complete Wally driving an Aston Martin at 10 miles an hour, and tractors are overtaking you and stuff. So no, I went back to 911s after that. I had quite a few Lotuses. I had two Elise, the very first Mark 1 Elise, and then I had a Mark 2. And then I had an Esprit V8 GT, which was an amazing car. I absolutely loved it. It was a brilliant car. But it broke down.
I'm amazed at your memory.
No, it's absolutely amazing.
Ali and I were talking for the first edition of the podcast, and I had trouble remembering.
Yeah,
I mean, I can remember maybe a couple of cars, but
but to go back, it's like a photograph. You were as if you're going through a library there of them. Like.
No, absolutely. I remember every single car I've ever had.
Do you remember the registrations, though?
I could tell you the registration of the MG Midget was CVT 105H.
All right.
And I had two Peugeot 1.9 GTIs, which back in the day were probably of all my driving cars, 911 is my favourite. And if you want to know, it's 997 Gen 2 with the X51 power upgrade, which gives you another 1,500 revs at the top, so it revs at 8,000. It sounds amazing. Sports exhaust, of course, 11-spoke, Porsche dynamic wheels, and I had that one in red. All my 911s were polar silver. I got them sprayed polar silver, except for this one. I actually bought it second hand because I couldn't find. Trying to get that spec of car was really difficult, and one came up in Birmingham, and so I flew down to Birmingham and bought it off the guy. And that was probably the favourite car I've ever had, because I used to take it to track days, and I had some sticky tyres on it, which I kept up at Knockhill, and it was really, really quick, and I'm a bit of a lunatic driver. I'm on the track, I have the red mist comes down, and I don't give way.
So if everything being equal, what would be your ideal car? I mean, is there any car you would aspire to that you've never actually? I mean, what's your dream car?
So a pal of mine had a Ferrari 360 Intrigali, and that's probably the best car I've ever driven. Just for a track car. I mean, it was like driving the Elise, because the Elise was a beautiful car to drive. Had no power assisted steering, no power assisted brakes. It was mid-engined, a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. But the Mark 1 Elise had lift-off oversteer was the great problem with it. So I wrote one off, hit a telegraph pole, and it's the only time I've ever had a really bad accident. And I was very lucky because it hit the driver's side, and the telegraph pole stopped at the centre tunnel. And I got a little bit of glass from the windscreen. Windscreen came in, and a bit of glass cut my nose. So it was pitch dark. I was sitting there in the dark, having hit this telegraph pole. I'd gone into this corner, and there'd been a farm, and the guy had been barrowing slurry backwards and forwards. And the road was like an ice rink. And so this thing, I'm pretty quick at catching cars, but no, I didn't catch that one. But I loved the way it drove, and the pal was at this 360 Intrigali, and it was just super special. I tell you,
is that on the horizon then? Is there going to be a Ferrari parked outside the Nairn house?
Them now, Alan. Can't afford them these days. And actually, that car, which my pal sold for X, is now about 3X. They've appreciated the value hugely. No, I think I've done my fast driving. And I drive like an old man now. I am.
You know why that is, Nick? Because you are an old man.
What? Really? Oh, yeah.
It creeps up on you, Nick, doesn't it?
It really does.
And we're speaking as old men. We know about these things.
Well, we met just recently, and we're chatting away, and I'm thinking, God, Alan's not aged very well. He's like, yeah. And then you look in the mirror and you go, oh, right, yeah.
That's
yes.
funny. I was thinking exactly the same thing about you.
Where did all that hair go there? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Nick, it's lovely to talk to you, and thanks for coming
Been
on
great,
Scotland the Drive podcast. And happy motoring ahead, whatever you decide to drive.
Well, thank you very much, and good chatting, guys.
Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
So Nick Nairn there, and a lesson: don't overtake the car that's towing you. It's a good bit of advice,
Isn't it just?
It's just as well it didn't end in disaster. Now then, the other thing I was going to talk about. Have you ever been to Caffeine and Machine?
No, but we got an email in from Scott Reed, and Scott Reed mentions it in his email. Something I've been trying to beat the drum about for a while, he says, is replicating the success of Caffeine and Machine. And I had to ask you what he was talking about.
Yeah, it's there's a cafe outside London. I think it's on the A1, Ace Cafe, which is notorious for, well, not notorious. It's the hub for motorbikers to go to, and the equivalent for cars is Caffeine and the Machine, or Caffeine and Machine, and it's in the Cotswolds. I think it's near Stratford-on-Avon. Yes, it's near Stratford-on-Avon, and opened less than a decade ago. It's a converted rural roadside pub which offers the lot: a main coffee shop, bar, restaurant with several spacious bedrooms, a shop and gallery, plenty of outdoor seating, but it's all focused on cars. And
Right.
I've been there. I was on a car launch. I think it was Fiat. I was with, and we called in there, and it's great. I mean, they've got old car posters, and it's the whole focus is on that. Anyway, the point is, Scott Reed.
Yep.
Scott Reed is saying he's been trying to beat the drum about it and replicating the success of it here in Scotland, because we've got plenty of petrol heads and motoring nuts up here. So why do we not have somewhere similar in Scotland? We've got the North Coast 500, so there is an interest in that, but we need somewhere like that here. And I can think of a few places that might fit the bill.
Yeah.
But obviously it needs some support. So if you're interested in supporting a caffeine and machine outlet somewhere in Scotland similar to the one in the Cotswolds, then let's get the movement going.
Move it. Yeah.
And all it takes is somebody, an entrepreneur, to say, yeah, I'll set that up, and spread the word, and we get the car nuts going there. You can go there and you can talk about cars without, without people complaining about, cars again. Yeah.
Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
So, and finally, while you were on holiday, lineman.
Yeah, well, I was on holiday, and how sad am I? I spent a good bit, well, not a good bit of my holiday. I spent a little bit of my holiday watching two guys painting white lines. Now, it was a bit more than that, because we'd gone on the ferry from Fuerteventura over to Lanzarote and Playa Blanca. We got off the boat and walking through the harbour bit, and there were these two guys painting white lines in a car park. But this wasn't just a guy with a brush and a pot of paint. It was what looked like a modified sit-on lawnmower with an arm out the front. And the guy sat on it, and as they went along, this arm sprayed a very precise white line. I mean, it was absolutely immaculate. I mean, it started there, stopped there, and it was clean. And then the other guy threw some stuff down, which presumably sealed it. I'm not quite sure what it was. It was more than just sand. But it was fascinating, and I'm watching this thinking, why can't we have something like that at home? I mean, I know we've got sophisticated equipment that paint white lines.
Do you not think we probably have that anyway? It's just you've not stopped and looked at it.
I've never seen it. I mean, but how sad am I? I'm on holiday, and I spend my time watching two guys painting white lines. But, I think I must be a petrol head. What do you think?
You're getting there, I have to say.
An old aging petrol head.
Talking of aging petrol heads.
Fascination in guys painting white lines.
That is it from us for this edition of Scotland the Drive. Do get in touch if you've anything you'd like us to raise or you want to make any point. We'd love to hear from you.
And we'll see you next time.
Drive safely.
Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.